this is post like Ethan trying to deplatform me actively by saying some of the most like hurtful, unhinged things. Okay, like you have to understand, like when you're relying on a website called hasabi.com, like unlisted YouTube clips from my own personal supercharged snark community, Destiny's community. I even talked about it with Bradley Martyn, the Bro Tips videos. He brought him up because he saw it and he was like, "You're based in those videos." Actually, you know what? Let's watch the Bradley Martyn video.
Do you trust me?
Where is it?
Do you trust me? I tell you not.
Where the f is it? Raw talk.
All right, guys, before we get into this podcast, football's in full swing, and you know what that.
Okay, skipping the ads. 1 hour and 52 minutes. This should be a yearly collab. I don't even stand with most of Hasan's views, but it's entertaining to see these two in a pod together. Good shit, Brad. W guess. I love Hasan. Brad, Logan choking you out definitely affected your upswing in notoriety. I hope you're being a more humble big guy. Bradley was asking, will this ever get fixed, or is it even possible for every situation ever? Hasan advocates for regular people every day. I admire him. Let's go.
Oh, man. You got like the busiest guy ever right now.
I know.
Do you think you're more busy now than you've ever been?
No. Well, I mean, look, 2020, when I went full-time Twitch streaming,
Yeah.
I streamed 42% of the entire year.
Every time I see, you know, when they measure like streamers and hours watched,
Yeah.
you're always up there. Like,
Yeah.
but you stream like out of everyone, I think you're the most consistent streamer.
Yeah. Every day, baby. 11 a.m. Pacific time is when I start. And then I go to like 8 p.m. usually.
And did you always talk about politics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first started originally, I did it because I was at the Young Turks back then. And I was like, I want a place where I can just like have my own thing. Cause like working under somebody else, like they just do whatever they want. Right.
Yeah.
So that sucked. I wanted my own place where I can have my own community and say whatever I wanted. But I started playing Fortnite. I strapped a PS4 camera onto my PlayStation 4 at the time. And I started directly streaming from, you could directly broadcast on the PS4.
I remember.
So I started doing that, playing Fortnite, and I would like have my other like journalist friends on, and we'd be talking about like Israel, Palestine while playing Fortnite.
Back then.
Yeah, even back then, even like all the way back in like 2018. So then I switched over to the desktop, and and then I went full time in 2020, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we did that interview on your stream, like in like you were getting like concurrent, not on, I don't know if on that day, but
Bro invented Fortnite Friday. It's true.
Services are complex and they're
Yeah, look at this. I was trying to live stream Fortnite while also putting my webcam on my computer to show Mark Zuckerberg's live testimony.
more to it than just you go and you post a photo. So I agree that in many places we could do better. But I think for the core of the service, it actually is quite clear.
To 57 viewers. Look at that.
Thank you, Senator Graham. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, I agree that what happened here was bad.
Me.
You acknowledged it was a breach of trust. And the way I explain it to my constituents is that if someone breaks into my apartment with a crowbar and then take my stuff.
Oh, that was the player count? Wait, no, I think that was the viewer. Oh, maybe you're right. That is the player count. Where's the viewer count? Didn't it used to show it?
Do better. But I think for the core of the
Used to show it somewhere.
service, it actually is quite clear.
Thank you, Senator Graham. Senator Klobuchar.
I mean, that is a player count, but bro, no way you're serious. No, I thought that was a viewer count because back then it was probably less than f***ing. It's next to the rec icon if it's on the PS4. It was probably lower than 54 people watching at that point.
The way I explain it to my constituents is that if someone breaks into my apartment with a crowbar and then take my stuff.
Oh, there it is. 45. 45 people were watching. There you go.
you during the election process, you were getting like 200, 300,000 people watching. And I think it's, for me, I kind of said this to you when you came into the live stream in my gym, but it's really interesting to see the growth of people like you in this space, because it really highlights how powerful social media has become.
Yeah.
Like
it's wild. Like the numbers, especially in like key demographics, like originally the key demos that they care about used to be 18 to 35. They changed it because they were like, no 18 to 35-year-old watches TV.
Yeah.
So they went up to like 54. I think now it's like, they say like 25 to 54 or something is the new primary demo target for like TV ads. And even on that front, I'm like destroying most of the other TV networks.
Do you feel like, obviously you feel cool, but like, do you feel an obligation to kind of be a certain way? Like, do you know, because all your like, I feel like when I first saw clips with you way back in the day, like your takes were like way more based.
What do you mean?
Like, no, you just said I've seen old clips of you saying crazy shit where people will bring up, but not that they're not based now, but like you just have you felt like you had to be more left in like all your stuff?
No, if anything, I got more left now than I was back then.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Or well,
like you were more based
no,
then.
but not no. More left as in like I was more quote unquote woke, I think. Unless you're talking about like bro tip stuff, which is like way back in the day.
That's what
okay. When I was like, when I look like Steven Crowder. Oh, God, it's so embarrassing.
Yo,
not even like the embarrassing that I was trying to satirize, but like just the way I looked. That's from like 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do like a satirical bro show, but also like, you know, try to crack jokes, but also like cover the news and stuff too. But very quickly I was like, this is not like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then we deleted them, and then people resurfaced them, and they always love bringing it up to be like, see, you used to say that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open about it. Like I definitely was like way more misogynistic. I used to definitely have transphobic takes.
Yeah.
Like, and
that's what I was referring to, because I saw that.
But that wasn't like that wasn't because like I wanted to. Oh, okay, that's what you meant when you said base.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like become more cognizant of like the media environment. Like I organically became less transphobic. I met trans people. I started questioning why I care so much about trans people. That was like, I think that was one of the major things for me. It was like, what the f do I care about this? Like, I don't really understand why this is like something that I should even worry about. Like, whatever, let people do whatever they want. And I think that's like, that was the spark in my brain. But it wasn't like it wasn't a deliberate attempt or anything. It was just like an organic thing.
Yeah, organic evolution.
Yeah. But in terms of like saying more left that I suspect people don't like, in terms of like, you know, saying we shouldn't be involved in, you know, bombing the global south and things like that. I think I'm much more
but is that
open.
really a left take?
Yeah, it's the OG left take.
But I feel like everyone like doesn't want war.
Yeah, well,
except obviously the people that benefit from it greatly.
Yeah, everyone doesn't want war, or at least like people claim that they don't want war. But you know who wants war? Politicians want war. So I think like there's a lot of people on the right and the left who are like, yeah, why the f are we giving like, let's say Israel $16 billion? Like, why can't we help homeless people? Or why can't we fix the potholes on the streets? And that's a pretty normal position. It's just it's not reflected in either party, really. Democrats historically used to at least offer lip service to that sentiment. But post 9/11, both parties are like, no, we have to do war all the time, stupid.
But I mean, it just sucks because like the more I get into politics is because like I felt like in the last few years, I just couldn't avoid it. The more I'm just like, does this ever really change? It just seems like a cycle of like, especially now with not necessarily you specifically, but the social ecosystem that's created around now politics, where it's like, anyone will say anything to get, you know, some sort of sensational response, where it's like they can say something about whether it's trans people or gay people or black people or some racist thing. It's like, people do this now, and whether there's any ounce of merit to it, which in most cases there's zero, but it's like they do it now because the algorithm, the likes, the views. For sure. And Twitter's become a place where I'm like, man, what's going on here? Yeah. Because I remember last time we talked, I was like, I love Twitter. I do love Twitter.
Yeah, I definitely, last time we talked, I definitely love Twitter too. More than I do now, for sure. Or unless you mean like last time we talked on my stream.
No.
Like the last time I was on your pod, back then I used to get quote unquote canceled all the time on Twitter.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was ultimately meaningless, but it was, I think, more fun.
Whatever happened, I don't know if I don't know if you've ever spoken about this, so maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but whatever happened with you and Ethan, like, because you guys had that show, The Leftovers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit. I'm sure he'll see this clip and get like really mad. But honestly, I think we just had like some, at the time, what I thought were minor disagreements. And I never really like paid attention to what he was saying.
About content?
No, about Israel. Okay, about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of October 7. But he'd always been like very pro-Palestine.
But you guys stopped way before that.
No, we stopped. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
What the
We stopped like around October. That's when we were like, we're not doing Leftovers anymore.
Okay.
So, October 2023 is like, I think, one of the last episodes we did.
Yeah.
And initially, I think there was a lot of people that were very mad at Ethan, both in my community and also, more importantly, his own community, because he's very progressive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that he cultivated in his audience were like not really with his takes. Like they didn't really like it.
Yeah.
And I think because there was also anti-Semitism rising at the time, like he saw that as a major point of concern, understandable. And I assume, I can't know what's in his mind, but I assume that he was like making the assertion that these people that were mad at him all the time weren't mad because they were seeing clips and making up their own minds, but mad for some other reason.
either because they were anti-Semitic or because like someone was priming them to be mad at him. And since our communities had merged at that time, because of leftovers to a certain degree, I think he thought that like my takes were what was causing people to like hate him for what he was saying. And because it's such a touchy subject for a lot of people for understandable reasons, I mean, people are very black and white. And when they hear Ethan say something that like, you know, Joe Biden has said about Israel-Palestine, and they don't investigate it any further, yeah, of course, they're going to be like, oh, fuck you, you're pro-Israel and you're hiding it. You know what I mean? That's like the immediate assertion. And for a year after that,
I think that this was on the spot, for the record. Is that Israel flag socks? No, dude, they're Nike. What the hell's wrong with you? I think, although this is like, I think this is a consistent take that I've held here. I suspect that people will probably get mad at me for even saying this, like for even mentioning Ethan, which, you know, there's not really much I can do. I was asked directly. It wasn't like I didn't think that Bradley would ask me that, but I'm not going to shy away from responding.
I didn't really investigate what his perspective was. We had a conversation, like last one we had was on my channel, where we had a back and forth and we had some disagreements, but we were on good terms for a year after that, pretty much. And then recently, I forget what it was. I think it was after Israel like decided to invade Lebanon, where I was talking about Hezbollah, which is the militant group in Lebanon. It's the Shia militant group. It's a part of the parliament as well. It's classified by the American government as a state terrorist organization. Not every country considers them to be a state terrorist organization, and they're a part of the Lebanese parliament, ultimately, right? Like they're a political party. Yeah. And they're effectively the standing military of Lebanon. But it is controversial ultimately, even within Lebanon. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said something like, I don't have any problems with Hezbollah in terms of like their resistance to the state of Israel. I think like this isn't about their, you know, sectarian politics, or this isn't about like their internal affairs. Like I don't give a shit. Right. Because that's not the reason why Israel is bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Lebanon because Hezbollah is retaliating against Israel for what Israel's doing in Gaza. Right. And he saw that, and I think that was what triggered him into, like, that was a trigger point where he was like, you're a radical. And then it spiraled out of control. I think he has done numerous streams at that point, like for months and months on end, all the way up until the election, where he was like trying to get me deplatformed. This is what I was saying. That's why we spoke about being censored more. Yeah, for you, because I saw that on like something with Twitch, and people then blaming you for like ad revenue and like that was another community that also has been always off my this Destiny's community. And they've always done the concern trolling where they're like he'll say some on him all the time, like he's debated child you know what I mean, like he's debated how you debate ethical that? CP. I don't know, but he's done it anyway. Like these guys don't have any boundaries, right? But then they will so very easily portray themselves like liberals or a concern. And
as an anti-Zio Jew, here's my take. I think Ethan did not fully unpack his Zionist mindset framework, so he would repeat Zionist talking points, leading the people to call him a Zionist. He doesn't identify as one, though, and he refuses to unpack those talking points as false, so he thinks people are calling him a Zionist simply because he's Jewish and not because he's repeating Zionist talking points. I think that there is some truth to what you're saying, but ultimately, I think like he got so... He got so negatively polarized that I don't even know what his attitude is now, and I truly don't know. I actually don't know. I know people will say like, "Oh, bro, all it would take is for you to watch one of his videos and you'd understand." But ultimately, like there's a couple moments of like very stubborn pushback where like I wasn't immediately dismissive. But if it was something that I did not know, if it was someone that I had no idea about, I would just write them off entirely. Like if I didn't know their background, if I didn't have personal connection to them, if I wasn't friends with them, right, at a certain point, I'd be like, the f are you saying? You guys should just talk it out. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not opposed to that at all. But you have to understand something, okay? Before chatter says no, before chatters like starts screaming no, this is post like Ethan trying to deplatform me actively by saying some of the most like hurtful, unhinged things. Okay, like you have to understand, like when you're relying on a website called hamasabi.com, like unlisted YouTube clips from my own personal supercharged snark community, Destiny's community. where, you know, you're using unlisted links and the title of the unlisted YouTube clip is literally HasanAbi, without ever considering what that looks like to other people that might not even know me, people that might not know me, people that are fans of yours that now have a very weird attitude, a very gross attitude. It's like, I don't use the Islamophobia card quite frequently, but that is fairly Islamophobic. Sam Cedar had a good take on this phenomena. As the atrocities of Israel become more and more apparent, people who grew up thinking of Israel as a positive force in the world will go to extreme lengths to cope with that contradiction. Yeah, I know. That's why I also said that he should talk to Sam Cedar. Like, I privately texted him to say, hey, I don't think you respect me, but you respect Sam. So I think you should talk to him privately, publicly. It doesn't matter, you know?
And they do that very well. So they started this like mass emailing campaign in their Discord to like openly, actively brigade everywhere and take like a year's worth of clips that they had clipped out of context for one whole year. Like, Israel starts bombing Gaza and these motherfuckers are like, all right, what's Hasan saying? Let's start clipping. Yeah. And they had it on a website called like HamasAbi. They're calling me like HamasAbi. Yeah. And they just had all these clips and they were like they spent spam emails to like advertisers. Like, I went to USC because they wanted me to speak at the college. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. Why not? They sent 27,000 emails to USC to try to get me not speak at USC. And it's really interesting because like in the email, I saw the email that they were spamming. And the email was like, he got banned off Twitch for saying a slur, a racial slur, which is true. I did.
What was the slur?
Cracker. But they didn't put that in the email. So they were trying to make it seem like I was this like crazy racist guy. Right. And, you know, it's like, it's a fairly sophisticated mass brigading campaign. And it didn't really work, but they got some advertisers, I think, like, were scared. Bloomberg wrote a report on it. Yeah. Some advertisers were like, well, we don't want to be associated with anything that's controversial. And but at the time they were like claiming that, you know, every advertiser is pulling out of Twitch. Twitch is having an adpocalypse. And Ethan at that same time was also like, you know, kind of egging that on a little bit, where he was like, these guys are really anti-Semitic. They're really radical.
But I don't understand this anti-Semitic conversation is like, if you just say anything that's against what they're doing in Israel, just you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I mean, there's more nuance to it than that, because like,
that's what it, from my perspective, from the outside, it's what it looks like when I see stuff.
No, I understand that. I mean, that's like the average position at this point. And I think that yes, it is, for the longest time, Israel, both positively and negatively, has been associated with Judaism. It's not a proper conflation. It's false. Saudi Arabia, it does not represent like the entirety of Islam. And Israel does not represent the entirety of Judaism. Right. But if every single person that goes on television is saying like, this is the Jewish nation, like, how dare you, you're being anti-Semitic, then yeah, of course people go, okay, maybe it is. Maybe everything they're doing for Judaism and all the Jews love this, when it's not the case. Right. I mean, there's like a classic old Jewish saying, it's like 2 Jews, 3 arguments, where it's like, there's no comprehensive monolithic understanding of what Israel is and what it's supposed to be among American Jews, especially. That's not like a real collective ideal at all. But it's presented that way. It's presented that way by people who hate Jews, who want to say, you know, fuck Israel. They're doing this for Jews. This is how Jews are. And it's also being said by people who are pro-Israel and also themselves Jewish, or just pro-Israel and pro-Jewish. Like Jake Tapper says that. Like, I don't think Jake Tapper is secretly a neo-Nazi or something, but he's saying that because it's been a very apt way to deflect criticism, because nobody wants to be offensive, especially in progressive circles. You don't want to be offensive. You don't want to be a mean person. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be called an anti-Semite. So you're like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize it was like that. It's usually just a way to stop the conversation dead in its tracks.
But so that's interesting though. That
Ethan said on this pod that you were pro October 7. See, that's what I mean. It's like, if you're look, there's a lot of Ethan haters in this community, okay, especially now. But like, if you're an Ethan fan at this point and you're watching me and you hear the way I talk about Ethan, and then you go back and listen to the way Ethan talks about me, I think that there isn't a parity there. Okay? Like, that's it. And I'm not doing that for aesthetic purposes. Like, it is truly just the way I operate. Okay? That's what it is. There's no respect on one side of this equation. It's asymmetrical. Any kind of self-defense is considered the most morally repugnant thing that I could ever do. But Ethan can say whatever the fuck he wants, including playing games that were made by Destiny's community that liken me to fucking Osama bin Laden, or even claim that I've like hid my more radical perspectives when the first conversation I ever had with Ethan and Gila was on their podcast before we even started our podcast, where I basically described the steps in which 9/11 happened when addressing my America Deserved 9/11 comment. And he was understanding, because the thing that left from this equation is respect and charity. Okay. And if you look back at the past year before Ethan went on this conquest to like deplatform me and other pro-Palestinian content creators by falsely smearing us as anti-Semitic, akin to neo-Nazis or whatever, by grabbing onto anything and everything they could, both Ethan and also Destiny and shit. And especially when like Ethan already has a fuck ton of haters. Like I could have just gotten on the fuck Ethan train. You know what I mean? Oh, Leftovers podcast ended because Ethan and I had disagreements on Israel Palestine because he's a huge Zionist. Like I could have done all of that. You know what I mean? That would have been, I'd probably be getting fucking celebrated by Keemstar at that point in the way that Ethan is getting celebrated by Keemstar now. The difference is I don't give a shit about that. I don't think that that's a productive way to approach anything. So he just completely decided to cut off all charitability and all respect and just go on this endless conquest. They're going to clip that. Yeah, they can if they want to. But my point is, I didn't do that because I don't believe that. That's not how I operate. And that's not what I think is like appropriate. Okay? I don't think it's appropriate. And that's my criticism of what Ethan has been doing, which is the inverse of that, the opposite of that. He pulled the fuck Hasan ripcord like he was just holding on to dear life, you know? For a year, I defended him against people in my community that were very upset with some of the things that he was saying. Not really fully paying attention to everything he was saying, but still. And that was because I don't think it was appropriate or productive to just like turn around and just be like, yeah, fuck this guy or whatever. It's stupid. But after all of that, he still turned around and was like, Hasan is a fucking radical terrorism supporter. Like, that's crazy. At first, it was hurtful. And now it's just like, I don't even know what to say, you know? One of his biggest gripes is you never addressed the points he made in his call-out video of you, not realizing you have indeed addressed them in numerous ways. That wasn't just watching his hit piece. I know. I don't know why he thinks like if I watched the hit piece silly compilation that he put together through like with Destiny moderators, somehow magically, you know, the world would come to peace or some shit. And yeah, the time frame where he did that was also not beneficial nor productive, and it was very silly. It was so drama laden when a genocide was ongoing, and the genocide is still ongoing, but at least I have more time now.
That's like an interesting point where like why would certain conversations need to be just killed dead in their tracks?
Well, because I mean it's kindness first and foremost. It's because people don't want to be.
Look here, Bradley asked me like he asked me a leading question, right? Where he's like, why do you think people are so scared of being inappropriate or whatever, right? And because he's just trying to say like, you know, woke people want to silence opposition or whatever. I think that's what he's trying to get.
Interesting though. That's like an interesting point where like why would certain conversations need to be just killed dead in their tracks?
Well, because I mean it's kindness first and foremost. It's because people don't want to be a fucking asshole. I don't want to be an asshole, even though I am, right? But I think that's where it comes from. You don't want to be like a rude person. Maybe you do. I don't know. But most people, I think, don't want to be impolite. And if they don't have all the information, then yeah, they're going to trust you. They're going to take your word for it. If someone that you trust and like tells you Israel is the Jewish nation state, no Jew would ever be safe if it wasn't for Israel, which Joe Biden has said, you know?
Yeah.
When someone that you trust says that, you're gonna be like, okay, well, I guess that's the case then. I'm not gonna think about it any further. I don't fucking know. It's a country over there, far away from me. So most people just don't really think about it any further, and then don't necessarily try to understand the full dynamic of the situation.
Yeah. As far as I guess it's interesting to me because you sort of had this like falling out with, you know, not necessarily falling out, but you had this falling out issue. Whatever you just basically explained with Ethan.
Yeah.
And like the left sort of commentating because you didn't agree.
I have covered Israelism, by the way,
with what they were saying. It kind of comes to what's going on right now with the right. It's really interesting to watch. But this whole conversation about the H-1B visas and like,
yeah,
Elon Musk talking on Twitter and Vivek Ramaswamy talking on Twitter and all these people like chiming in and kind of like somewhat attacking each other. And I know they're enjoying that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love when right wing infighting happens because it's like it's rare. The left loves eating itself alive.
Yeah,
I mean, I get canceled all the time. It's not fucking real, but
right.
People yell at me all the time. They call me misogynistic, transphobic, racist, white supremacist, and then on the other side, everyone on the right calls me a pussy, soy for fucking defending marginalized people. You know what I mean? So. But the left loves doing that shit to itself. The right normally is pretty unified.
Yeah.
They're like, it almost feels like, you know, as long as we're fucking owning the libs, whatever that is, you know, we're good. We're good. We're on board.
So it's come from what? Basically the base, the Republican base for the most part, speaking out on behalf and kind of like seemingly or believing they're voting for basically a group of Republicans that are going to make America and put America first. Right. And then, it's interesting because then, you know, Elon is basically saying like, yeah, we need these foreign workers. It's been a thing. And then everyone's attacking him because they're like, wait, what about all the people who, you know, could have or could get the jobs here?
It's a tough argument to sell to people on Twitter, especially when you got like what, hundreds of thousands of tech layoffs and you got American workers like training their H-1B visa foreign counterparts. I'm an advocate for immigration. There's enough money to go around, certainly. And, you know, there's endless potential everywhere, whether it's coming from India, China, or whether it's coming from an underserved neighborhood in the United States of America, whether it be some fucking West Virginia slum or Southside Chicago, there's a lot of unlimited potential out there that we have not even tapped into. So I don't necessarily care about those sorts of things. Like in terms of immigrants coming in, I'm a fucking immigrant. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm an American citizen. I'm an anchor baby, but my father recently became an American citizen. So
my family would have been immigrants, you know, so.
What?
I'm Italian, so they came, they were immigrants.
Well, there you go. So, but that's everybody. Everybody in America is, unless you're Native American, you can trace your lineage back to a point where you weren't on this fucking continent.
Right.
So, and there's always historically been resistance against newcomers anyway. When Italians came in, they were treated like shit. When the Irish came in, they were treated like shit. It's always resistance towards whoever's coming in. The people that are there already are like, nah, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after some time passes, there's some growing pains, and then people are like, all right, never mind. These guys are cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it now. Like it's not even a thing. If you were to be like, yeah, the Irish are not white, people look at you like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah.
So that's normal, and it's historically happened in America over and over again. And right now it's happening towards people coming in from Latin America, and also certainly now for the Twitter people. India.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the reason why Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy want H-1B visa workers is because they can exploit them better.
Lower wages, right?
Yeah.
I was looking all over Twitter. You see all the sort of the people in Tesla, the people who they have like lists and lists of people who are these H-1B visa workers that are, I guess, I mean, I see the salaries, they're large, but apparently they'd be more large.
Yeah. No, it'd be at the minimum, it's like 20% cheaper.
And I understand, obviously,
because there's a currency exchange, right? If you're sending money back to your family and you come from a country where there's like a currency exchange rate that favors, you know, the American dollar,
right? That's
automatically, you're like, yeah, I'll take a 20% pay cut. I don't give a fuck. And on top of that, you get to work towards earning a citizenship in the United States of America. Maybe bring your family here. So yeah, you're going to be very excited at the prospect. But more importantly, it's an additional pressure, because if you lose your job, then you're fucking, you're done. You're out. You're deported. Meanwhile, there is already pre-existing pressures for American citizens to retain those jobs as well.
Right.
What do we got? In order to be able to get to those jobs, you have to go to college. College is $100,000 to $200,000 now. You got to take on student loan debts.
Yeah.
When you take those student loan debts, you have to pay off those debts. So then you take a job that you normally wouldn't take, and you just take it, and you gladly try to keep it to the best of your ability. You're vulnerable already. Another pressure for American citizens is healthcare. We don't have free healthcare in this country, unlike every other fucking comparable OECD nation, right? It's not like the Canadians are super woke or socialist or anything, or better than us, right? They're not.
I've heard issues with free health. Not obviously, I understand like your point to have it, but there's also other issues that come along with it being free too, where it's like, I know people in Canada who can't even get anything done for 7 months.
So those issues are almost always as a direct consequence of underfunding. Politicians in countries like that, right-wing politicians, because they have right-wing, left-wing dynamics as well, like in the UK, for example, will systematically underfund healthcare deliberately. They do that so it's shit. They do that so it's understaffed, and the hospitals look like dog shit, and there's not enough doctors and nurses, and the wages are low for the doctors and nurses. So when they fight back and demand higher wages, they're like, oh, we don't have money, sorry. And then they turn around and go, we got to privatize this. They do that because they want to privatize it. They underfund it and then they privatize it. They privatize certain aspects of it, and inevitably the entire thing becomes private.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal for them. And at that point, you turn into the United States of America.
So from your perspective, like, how do you actually fix this? Because it just seems like you obviously have people on one end who are like, you know, working hard to grow a business, and they feel like, well, I don't want to pay for other people's shit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the whole beef with it.
You're always paying for other people's shit.
No,
That's
I'm aware of it. I pay a fuck ton of taxes.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. Like I know I'm unique in this and people get mad at me for even saying this, but like, I don't have a problem paying taxes. It sucks that like it goes to, I don't know, murdering children in Gaza, a big chunk of it, and not to fixing the fucking potholes. But even if a percentage of it is going to the teachers, if a percentage is going to the schools, then I'm like, yeah, you got to do that. And I think that is, unfortunately, that's not a very commonly held perspective, because so much of our taxes go to like irrelevant shit that only benefits the corporations and you know, the super wealthy.
So that's the really big overarching thing is like, how do we ever fix something that is just so money driven? I mean, it just, you know, even this
being counseled by the left is like my 4-year-old child telling me they're going to call the police when she didn't get her way. It usually ends up with a lot of stomping up and down, having a fit in the end. They just look stupid. I mean, yeah, that's because the left is institutionally powerless. The right, on the other hand, does have power. I mean, the left is not broadly represented by the Democratic Party in the way that like the far right absolutely is represented by the Republican Party. So much so that like we're even having this H-1B visa debate. It's not a debate at all for the average Republican. The average Republican doesn't give a shit, okay? They don't care. They don't understand it. They don't care. They could, if they heard about it enough, maybe they could develop an opinion on it. But as long as Fox News goes, Donald Trump said H-1B visas are good, and they repeat that, ultimately, the right is going to go, yeah, we agree with that. Whereas like even the far right is going to ultimately agree with that. Whereas with respect to the actual leftist movement, or people who find themselves homeless within the Democratic Party, like the Democratic Party doesn't even try to lean in to a progressive point of view. They actively and desperately try to present themselves as anything but that. They don't shy away from presenting leftists as an enemy. They openly spend time shitting on the left. You don't ever hear Republicans go, wow, this is so completely unacceptable. This is so completely unacceptable. The right-wing position, the neo-Nazis are out of control. Like, you never hear that from the Republicans. Can you explain how you seem to be hand-waving the H-1B abuse situation? This is affecting 500,000 people per year and driving wages down. How is this a leftist position to disregard these workers? At what point did I say that I disregard these workers? I always have repeated the notion that the best way, the best process to ensure that there's like still empathetic immigration in general is wage parity initiatives. Can you explain this argument that you didn't make, that I made up in my head, that you are deflecting away from, even though you very clearly and very openly, very deliberately have described that position? After a 64-month subscriber, I have been in here numerous times. Know your fucking perspective. You came across saying it was immigration, but it seems to be more corporate abuse. Wait. Okay. You not, I guess, hearing certain parts of my argument doesn't change my argument. Just go back and re-listen then. I've done multiple videos on it at this point. This is why being a leftist is so fucking stupid. Like, grifting to the left is stupid, by the way. Because there's a 64-month subscriber in here that's like, hey man, I'm gonna fucking be as cynical to your takes as a person who has hated you for 5 years, not a person who has financially supported your broadcast for the past 5 years. People will say this and be like, I didn't watch the stream, but I watched that bot clip channel that clips everything out of context. Yeah, what the fuck? Like, come on, chatter. Charity, please. Be charitable. Take a deep breath and reconsider. I'm saying it's corporate abuse. Why don't you zero in on that point on the podcast instead of making it about immigration? I'm not being cynical. I'm saying the point should be redirected to the corporations, not the immigration issue. Oh my God. I did talk about that. Either I haven't finished the point yet, and I haven't gotten to it, or I did. I remember talking about it, and I've talked about it a million times over. What the fuck is wrong with you? You think I'm secretly not invested in American labor all of a sudden? What are you talking about, man? God.
Conversation about the visas. It's about being able to get the wage here.
I want to look up this chatter's 64-month subscriber. I'm going to look up your comments. If I catch you in any number of different days over this past week where I was directly talking about this issue, if I catch you fucking commenting on any of those other days, then you have literally no reason to assume that I don't talk about that. So there's got to be a different reason for why you are so fucking uncharitable, okay? H1B. So you have heard me talk about it from the framework of corporate abuse and why it's beneficial for billionaires and why they love it. Brother, I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying from the POV of a pod viewer.
To have the leverage of the people that are, needing to be here at that.
By the way, ironically, this is the moment. Like, chatter is chirping at me pre-firing, and it's literally the moment where I'm talking about how it's corporate abuse. Now, take a deep breath and re-examine why you fucking pre-fired. Oh, God, we're getting botted on fucking New Year's, too. Jesus Christ, look at this shit.
That certain wage have to do it, because if they don't, they got to go back home. They also make way more money here than they would there. So then it makes sense for the corporation to be like, yeah, of course we want that guy because we can pay him less, and he has to
doing
work.
the same job. He's doing more. He's doing more than the American citizen.
Like, that chatter was chirping at me while I was literally talking about how H-1B visas are utilized by capital owners as a additional mechanism of abuse. I also talked about the different vectors of pressure that make the American natural-born citizen, working class, also susceptible to exploitation. And then the H-1B visa process makes it even easier to exploit migrants, because now they'll get fucking deported. And that chatter was yelling at me about me not mentioning that while I'm in the process of mentioning that.
I think that is... unfortunately, that's not a very commonly held perspective, because so much of our taxes go to like irrelevant shit. That
the really big overarching thing is like, how do we ever fix something that is just so money driven? I mean, it just, even this conversation about the visas, it's about being able to get the wage here, to have the leverage of the people that are, needing to be here at that certain wage have to do it, because if they don't, they got to go back home.
Happy
they also
New Year,
make way more
Austin.
money here than they would there. So then it makes sense for the corporation to be like, yeah, of course we want that guy because we can pay him less, and he has to
doing
work.
the same job. He's doing more. He's doing more than the American citizen, because, and Elon did this with Twitter. He went to Twitter and he fired like 50% of the staff, right? Immediately, day one. He fired all those people. The only employees he retained, he kept, were H-1B visa workers. Why did he do that? Because those guys, if they get fired, they're going to get deported. So now you can force those guys to fucking stay there all day, every day, sleep at the office. They're basically indentured servants. That's what Elon Musk wants. That's what wealthy people want. They want to be able to...
Are you happy, chatter, 64-month subscriber? Or are you going to triple down now and say, well, you didn't get to it fast enough in order to maintain the position that you were right and I was wrong all along? Not only are you wrong, but I want you to use this as a learning opportunity. I know it sounds fucking silly. Probably sounds like patronizing for me to just like take a deep breath and demand that you do the same, okay, and reconsider. But what led you to be so initially cynical? What led you to be so initially cynical? Because this is something that a lot of people do on the left, okay?
Get the most amount of time and productivity out of each individual employee. And the more vulnerable you are, like, the fear of deportation, the easier it is for your boss to turn around and be like, all right, I'm calling you up at 10 p.m. on a Friday family emergency. You ever get your ass in the office right now? I got a problem. If you say that to an American citizen will be like, no.
Yeah. You don't think there's any merit to at least what Vivek was trying to say as far as like the culture of like America and like there not being this work ethic. And he was kind of talking about the whole like, which I found really funny. The
nerds and the jocks.
The nerds and the jocks.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I didn't get enough pussy in high school, so that's the reason why Americans are getting too much pussy. They're focusing on, they're venerating jocks instead of venerating nerds. It's like, no, that's just, he's a fucking nerd. And that's why he's saying that.
The thing that I wish Elon would have led with was he, after the whole shitstorm, he started to respond to people and was like, oh, there should be this like we should fix this system as well, and then we should have like a sort of like a minimum or like a so that it's
The reason I said that message was because you were only focusing on STEM. My point was it was widespread and everyone should be concerned. It's not a gotcha. Just saying you brought it up as immigration before mentioning corporate abuse and laying off workers, which I believe is more important with respect to this issue. I mean, my bad for not having future sight hockey. Dude, I'm not saying you should have future sight hockey. You literally also said you seem to be hand waving the H-1B abuse situation. Don't act like you literally are saying that I am like directly at odds with leftist ideology, with leftist position. I can see your fucking chat. That's what started this process. You being a 64-month subscriber and coming in fucking hot like that. This is not a moment of debate, dude. This is supposed to be a moment of self-reflection for you. Okay? Don't try to fucking hand wave that by being like, no, I meant like something broader than what you had brought up. God damn, dude. My question is, how can you be a fucking 64-month subscriber and be this uncharitable? Because you focused on immigration first rather than the workers who got laid off, brother? Yeah. There's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing and you're watching, okay? I know how to communicate these things. Sorry. Holy fuck. I can't believe you're trying to backseat my fucking podcast appearance here. Jesus Christ. And you're still trying to debate. Yeah, I think it was the right thing to do because focusing on immigration first and foremost is the right thing to do in that situation because the overwhelming majority of right-wingers don't give a fuck about the actual wages, okay? They just, the ones on Twitter at least that Bradley's talking about care because those guys are Indian, all right? That's why I said, and also very clearly and very deliberately, openly stated that we are all descendants of immigrants. I don't have an issue with immigration, but here's how this process is weaponized by corporations. And now we're having an aesthetic conversation, a back and forth because you were wrong. You were wrong and you were incredibly cynical. So the question for you remains, why were you so cynical? Why do you think that I was like not actually behaving in a manner consistent with my worldview that you should be aware of? Okay? And I addressed literally everything. And you're still tripling, quadrupling down by trying to find another thing that you can hold on to. It's okay. When I'm wrong, I fucking say I'm wrong. And it's not about taking an L or something like that. This is not a contest. I just want to make sure that people don't do this in my community, especially. Be more charitable. I expect charity from random people. How the fuck can I expect that if I can't even get it from people that have been in here for literally years? Okay? I wasn't saying that to antagonize. I was asking intellectually to learn from your thoughts on why you brought it up first. Brother, you literally said, or sister, you literally said, can you explain why you seem to be hand-waving the H-1B abuse situation? This is affecting 500,000 people a year, driving wages down. How is this a leftist position to disregard these workers? And then I tried to explain it to you, and you said you came across saying it was immigration, but it seems to be more corporate abuse. That's not just, you're asking to antagonize, okay? And it's fine. You did it. It's okay. It's all right. I don't hate you. I'm not mad at you. I just want you to, I just want you to be more normal. Okay. That's it.
It's the same if they hire these people or as far as like the immigrants or if they hire American workers.
Yeah, if they had wage parity.
That's kind of what he was going toward. He started talking about that like kind of after the shitstorm had.
He would never in a million years look for that because then that's profit margins. That's hurting his profits. That's hurting his bottom line. He relies on H-1B visa workers. I don't trust super wealthy people, billionaires, millionaires.
What if they do change that? Will you say sorry to Elon?
Are you sure? I'd be shocked. Yeah. Because I'm of the mindset that these guys will say anything and everything as long as you're not focusing on the actual pressure points, as long as you're not focusing on who's fucking you over, who's robbing you blind, they're good. They're like, yeah, we should do price parity. They're never going to do that, but they'll say it.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like it just...
And it's the Democrats too, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Right,
like, I don't think the Democrats want to fix this shit either.
Government and politicians in general. I just wonder, like, does it ever actually become what you think it could be to be better, right? Because it just seems like we live in this world where it's this constant more, get more, take more, grow, profit margin, shareholders, like, and that controls this whole entire fucking nation and the world.
It seems like you're describing capitalism right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in a sense, yeah, but it's like not even in a sense directly, but
that is what it is.
But that's the world. It's not like that's just going to disappear.
No, I mean, look, I'm a firm believer that is not like inherent in human nature.
Brad cracks me up. He bounces between there's no way to fix this and what if this crazy thing that will never happen happens, Lamau? Yeah.
Sure. You can be greedy. You can be selfish. You can be personally interested. But that doesn't automatically mean that we are also not social animals that constantly collaborate.
This is a good take. My take is that grifters, be it Fox News, the Daily Wire, politicians, or drama content creators, successfully weaponize people's pain and misery, redirecting those frustrations in the form of targeted cynicism, harassment, etc., at the expense of individuals based on identity analysis instead of systems on the basis of material analysis. You cooked, RavXO. You're right. That's precisely what happens every single time.
That constantly work with one another and do it in like very invisible ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to always be pure profit driven. And that's not like some
ways. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is like there are additional motivators beyond making money that you engage in. You don't work out every single day because you want to make more money. The more muscle mass you put on, the more money you make. That's not a direct, that's not a direct reason, right? You do it for yourself. You do it for self-improvement. This is something you care about. Same with me, right? Sure, the way we look definitely play into the way the audience receives us, and maybe it allows more people to listen to what you have to say or whatever. Right. But ultimately, there's a secondary reason for that, perhaps even a more important reason for that. And we do stuff like that all the time. There are additional motivators beyond profit that cause people to innovate, right? That cause people to do stuff, that cause people to collaborate with one another, problem solving. It's not always at the behest of the almighty dollar. We're not always, like, I'll give you examples of massive scientific, like in the field of medical research, there are so many innovative products that have come out. These guys didn't do it because they wanted to make money. They did it because they wanted to save lives. Like the guy who invented insulin in Canada, he sold the patent for $1. Now you got to pay fucking $1,000 to purchase it because a company bought the patent and then denied people the access to this life-saving medication that this guy fucking found and was like, I want people to be able to have this. Like, this is crazy. People should be able to have this. This is like going to save people's lives. This is awesome. He did that collaboratively with a whole bunch of other people. Not a single person involved in that was like, think about all the money we're going to be making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always the dudes in suits that make the money afterwards. And they make it seem as though everyone only cares about money. Now, this doesn't mean that people don't care about money at all. Of course, everybody cares about money. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, money isn't everything. When you don't have it, it is everything.
Right.
I've been there. I know. It's very important. It's freedom. Having said that, I think there is a very different mentality that a lot of people have, especially at the top of society. People who are corporate executive CEOs, where they care almost exclusively about like endless expansion, profits over everything. Whereas I don't think the average person operates like that. I think the average person is trained to think like that is something that they're invested in, but deep down inside, like most people just want to be comfortable. They want to be able to have,
they want to be happy.
They want to be happy. They want to be comfortable. They want to have a roof over their heads. They want a fucking nice meal, get some pussy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And have children, whatever the fuck they want to do. Play Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
Have some free time. Have some fucking free time for yourself, right?
But it just seems like it's so vast and it's so structured and it's so built already. There's no escaping it.
Yeah. Mark Fisher once said, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than imagining the end of capitalism. And it's true. I mean, how many dystopian movies are out there, the world ending? Yeah. How many fucking movies are out there where there's, we've moved beyond capitalism? Star Trek is like the only example I can think of. So it's true. It's like deeply ingrained in our understanding. We think it's like human nature that like everyone is endlessly selfish and endlessly greedy. Conservatives always talk about the family. There's no profit motive in the family. The family unit has nothing to do with profits at all. It's about taking care of your own. It's about taking care of your friends. And I think that we can expand on that, taking care of your communities. And plenty of people have that attitude as well as the self-interest. And I think there needs to be a better balance of that. And right now the balance is tilted on the selfish profit side of things.
But that's my question is, how do you even make a balance like that? Like, do you think it just takes more people speaking like this?
I think that plays a role in it for sure.
Because like just speaking about something like, that's something like I'll see where, I even saw some tweet you made about the elites and you got a response from a bunch of like
conservatives. They loved it, which is surprising because I was talking about like how they've destroyed public education.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the response, so Mike made a comment basically where it's like, we're just gonna go back to talking about whatever, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And like, that's how it feels. That's how all this stuff feels, where it's like, there's these like super pain points and these issues. And then people just go back to like, all right, well, where else can I make money?
We're easily distracted, especially with social media too. Like where I think back in the day, like shit would just be important for like a month. And now it's like 12 hours and then you're done. Right.
Yeah.
But
it's another cog in that, you know, getting money.
No, for sure. I think money, attention, clout, admiration, there are definitely other motivators beyond money as well. But yeah, I mean, people can't stand on one issue and really hyper focus on it. But having said that,
Like, would you do what you do if you made no money? If you were able to?
I did do what I was doing when I made no money.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Not on social, because I was just, I mean, as far as being a gym bro and like training and talking about what I was doing, that's something I did.
But even politics, like this is something that I was truly fascinated by, and something that I wanted to, like my opinions, I wanted to share with other people. So yeah, and this is something that I was definitely interested in. And I mean, for the longest time, it's not like I had this like massive audience or a shit ton of money. Like I didn't, but I still did it, and I had virtually the same fucking opinions I do now. That's why you can go back. I always say like you can go back to like any video from like 2016, 2017, and I'm literally talking about the same issues, and I'm saying the same things.
And you were always kind of a gym bro, because I remember I think when I first had met you, I looked back on my DMs, because I was a gym bro making gym content, and you would message me about like workout shit. Yeah, it was so funny, because I went back and I looked at our DMs. Oh, really? I even remember you were like, I responded. It must have been years later, and you were like, fuck, I messaged you in 2016. You're like, crazy. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
no, but congrats on what you've done. For real.
Thank you. Well, I lost a lot of weight, and then I gained it back in COVID. It was messed up. I was so depressed, dude. Like last time we did this podcast, I was still pretty fat. Yeah. Like last time when we had a lean beef patty at my house, like I was so fat even then, but I was at least like I was like more regimented at that point. Right. And like finally I'm back to a very comfortable place now. Yeah. And dude, that stuff I can't speak enough on, honestly. It's just like it really changes the way you see the world, working out and being physically healthy. Yeah. And I think most importantly, setting goals for yourself and being able to accomplish them and seeing the fruits of your labor genuinely changes something in your brain chemistry, where I just feel like because I've done it once, I'm like, I will be able to do it again. I'll be able to tackle whatever issue I want to, as long as I fucking put some time and investment into it and commit to it and develop consistency. Before
you figured that out, how did you get to that point when you didn't get that reaction? Because most people are like, right now, right? It's New Year. Everyone talks about New Year, New Me, all the shit that everyone says. And everyone's kind of like, not everyone, because some people get out, like you got out as far as like your goal and you actually achieved it. But to the people who are kind of stuck in that circle, what's your perspective, or what would you tell that person? And essentially, what did you tell yourself to keep going when it wasn't what you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I mean, I was fat my whole life, so that was the one thing.
You're also tall as fuck, though, to be fair.
No, that was definitely a benefit for sure. I could hide it, but like I was fat, I was still very insecure about it. And for me, I think I was like, when I first moved out here, I was surrounded by other like personal trainers. We were living in I was living basically for almost no cost at a frat house, because I didn't have anywhere to live, and I didn't make enough money to like be able to rent a apartment.
I've been there.
Yeah. So I was living in the kitchen of a frat house, and like everyone was a PT. Yeah. So then, and I had more free time, so I was like, we just worked out. It was a social thing.
I'm surprised you didn't go more Republican with your views. I feel like most gym bros like end up going there.
I know. It's interesting because like I don't know. I think being healthy is a thing on its own. It's not like a political thing.
Of course not. I'm just saying, you're absolutely
right. But I do see that, except for Jeff Niverett, my boy, shouts out.
Yeah, good guy. Yeah, good guy. I want to have him on here. Talk. He just released a book. I want to talk to him about it.
That's my homie.
But what I'm saying is like, I mean, even in a sense, like, I guess I would consider myself more right, but like, I'm not really. Like I'm open. I like to listen, and I like to understand all sides of everything. I've always been that way. Yeah. I've never been like sort of dogged with like, if someone says this and they said something else that I thought then it was true, then I just go, okay, then everything else they say is true. I've always been like, I don't know, let me ask more questions. Which is why, like, in general, I like even love having conversations with you, because I know we have such a different perspective on a lot of things. Yeah. But I guess, why do you think people tend to like, I don't know, just pick and stick in an echo chamber? And do you think, do you sometimes find yourself in that in your own?
I mean, oh, for sure. I it's comfort. It's a sense of community. It's a shared understanding of the world that is very comforting for a lot of people. People look for it in many different ways. And there's a concept of third spaces, places that you can go to where you can be around other members of the public, right? Yeah. Public parks, movie theaters, things of that nature, gyms. Yeah. Exactly. I feel like now, because we live so much online, we spend so much time out of the day, being online, like we don't really have that sense of community over mutual interests as much. So then we just like seek out these communities online. And I do think that there's definitely something very unhealthy about it. Yeah. Where it does like harden your viewpoints, and you constantly hear people that you agree with, and that can lead you astray. And it shuts off your curiosity. It shuts off your charitability.
I'd say especially now with the sort of like type of content that seems to be most consumed, which is clips. Yeah. Because it's like people don't even get the full context of conversations now.
Ever.
And they just go, he said this, that's it.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I'll give you an example. I went to Skid Row yesterday. Homelessness increased by 18% this past year. we have
worldwide or nationwide.
No, nationwide.
Nationwide,
yeah. So that means in the United States of America now, while we're having this conversation, there's more than 700,000 people that are sleeping outside. Okay. A lot of these guys are like addicted to fentanyl. There's a lot of drug problems. There's a lot of mental health problems. There's like crime. There's a lot of theft, assault, sexual assaults, and the like. It's horrifying. And it's a policy problem. It's a systemic failure, right? But the media also, I think, plays a role in dehumanizing homeless people. And especially when you see like the only interaction that you have with a homeless person is usually just like a person basically at the final stage of homelessness that looks like a zombie that's like shitting outside of your house or jerking off outside of your house. You're like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Like, this is just like, you know, this Bedlam. This is Gotham City. Where the fuck is Batman? Right? And the media also plays into that a little bit, I think, by like actively also dehumanizing homeless people. What was it? Soft White Underbelly, I think, does a pretty decent job of like showcasing the background and perspective of homeless people. There's a big YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen those like the black and white interviews. Yeah. And you know, there's some people out there that do a decent job. But basically I saw that and I saw so much violence that was happening against homeless people as well. And like the lack of interest from people like in seeing their humanity and seeing their background and seeing like that they're literally people exactly like your aunts, your uncles, people that, you know, once had a normal existence, a normal life. Too. Yeah, lots of veterans, exactly. And so I wanted to work with a local charity that already, like a local organization that already works on.
Been following since the woke bait 2 days after lockdowns and vaccines rolled out. I set to build a third spade in my community, and I did so this year by joining a local org and creating a weekly paint night. Has been very successful. An example of real world impact your work has. Hell yeah, Omega Reagan. That's awesome.
Skid Row, and go there, buy a bunch of materials that they need, and also bring some clothes as well. Like old clothes of mine, because people send me merch all the fucking time.
You didn't film this?
No, I did. The reason why I did.
HasanAbi Pipeline is real. Listening to this is reminding me of my own political deconstruction process that happened watching your stream 3 years ago. Thank you for your consistent messaging and work. You're so good at reaching bros. You were the first bro I ever heard hold space for queer people. Your messaging literally saved my life. Yeah, I'm always holding space for queer people. I'm holding the space so I can hurt them better.
Did it, and I didn't film like any of the. I didn't film like the homeless people at all. I didn't put a fucking camera on their faces. The people that we talked to wanted to ahead of time through this organization said they wanted to share their perspectives. So the way the way I set this up is that, you know, we were doing a good deed. It's fine. I went and bought like a bunch of tarps and apparently that's like one of the most commonly requested items so they can build their tents, and which is like such a patchwork solution. Like it's not even a solution at all. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy that these are people that are so desperate that like, it's just like, yeah, they want to build like that's housing material.
You know what I can't stand on this conversation is that when the Olympics are coming or when China's coming to fucking, they fix it.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
They're building a bunch of like condos down there, but in the Olympic area.
Yeah, they don't fix it though. They just like literally shove them. Like they come in and they do this thing called sweeps, which is ironically one of the things that I talked to them about. And they just take their shit. Like the cops come and they just fucking wipe out the street, right? And from your perspective, you're like, oh, finally, the streets are clean. Like what the fuck? There's trash everywhere. Otherwise, like this is a good thing. But from their perspective, it's like they just had like basically they have nothing to begin with, and the things that they have value for them, like things that they care about, like, you know, a note from their mom or something, you know,
or
things
a generator.
Like remnants. Yeah, exactly. Or remnants of their humanity, right?
Yeah.
Are just taken away from them, and it fucks their lives up. And then they get like slammed into like some shelter or something. They just like pack them there. And then, you know, a week goes by and they're like, all right, you can go back, you know, and then they have to start over again. And obviously the solution isn't to like let people fucking live out on the streets and just like do drugs out in the open or slowly decline mentally until they're just completely gone. The solution is, and this has been very successful in places like Helsinki and Finland, the solution is putting them into permanent shelter and then kickstart the recovery process. Because there's a shit ton of people that do fucking drugs, but they do drugs in their own homes, and it's not the same problem.
Right.
It's very different when you're out, you know, braving the elements, and in that process, you're like, this is fucked up. Like I need something to cope with this. And you know, the person in the tent next to you is like, here, you want some crack? And he's like, sure, I'll take some crack. And then you become a crack addict.
Yeah.
So that's usually how it happens. But the conversation that I'm having with you about this is exactly what I wanted to showcase. And that is what a lot of these guys wanted to talk about directly.
What were they saying? I
met this guy named Hawk, 70 years old. He's a musician. He has a dog, he's a pit bull, and he just lives in a tent. And he's been in and out, and he's been on the streets for, you know, longer than 10 years at this point.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I met a guy named Glenn, similar situation, I think, just like being homeless. He was just evicted. He was just evicted by his management company, and they didn't even give him any time to just like leave. He had a hard time paying his rent, but then he did a GoFundMe and was able to get the money to pay the rent. but they still evicted him. He mentioned that he was also doing drugs, and I think that's part of the reason, probably why.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the way I see it is like these people need help. Like they need counselors. You know what I mean? They need the people to go to where they're at and help treat the illnesses that they have, whether it be mental health complications, whether it be, addiction.
Do you think that you could help everyone? Not you specifically, but do you think it's rational to say you could help everyone? Because there are people that, like, no matter how much you help them, they're going to end up somehow in the same sort of situation.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And the way I think about it is this: even if you can't help every single person, even if there are people who are just like unsalvageable, because we've all experienced that to a certain degree in our lives. You just meet someone where you're like, dude, how the fuck do you keep fucking up? Like, how do you keep fucking up every single time? Like, this doesn't make sense. And they just don't learn their lesson at all, right? No matter how hard you try to help them. But I think just completely having a nihilistic perspective on the other side, leaves so many people, like the broad majority of people, lost in the margins, when those are the people you can actually help. And the entire system is broken from top down, and there are so many different pressure points that you can apply some pressure to. For example, the overwhelming majority, if not the entirety of the homeless population, is created because of the housing market. They get priced out of the housing market. And like the very common journey usually is that although there are people who, do crimes or whatever, or like are victims of abuse when they're children, and then they do a bunch of, they do a bunch of shady shit, and they're in and out of the prison.
You can't fix homeless. No, it's impossible. No matter how much money you throw at it, it's the homeless people's own choice that make them homeless. Your take is basically just an insult. That's low class and dumb. Yeah, you, on the other hand, are very high class. It's just weird that, like, I guess a lot higher percentage of Americans are making these wrong choices, as opposed to somewhere like Austria, for example. Like, why is it that other big cities, other major cities, have significantly lower numbers of people out in the fucking streets than like American cities? And I ask you this with complete sincerity, because homelessness is a moral failure, or that it is a thing that people choose to do. It is a consequence of their choices, is such a childish take. A higher class is someone that makes a point and does an insult. What? Dude, just listen to what I'm saying, man. Don't focus on the aesthetics, okay? What are you, a baby? I called your take childlike. Okay, if that's that triggering to you as you're in the process of saying the dumbest thing anyone's ever heard, instead of examining why I'm saying what my response is, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, Hasan, you can say it can be fixed, and America has way more money than other nations. Why can it not be fixed? Because, well, this is another chatter who is about to find out exactly, if they just, stick around for a little bit, you'll hear exactly why it can't be fixed, seemingly can't be fixed, because of the profit motive. I'm about to describe it, the housing market and its impact on homelessness, in just a few moments.
The system, and then their job opportunities are completely shut off. Now you can't pay for housing. There are plenty of people who have jobs, but because the housing market becomes insane, they just can't pay for housing. So they still retain their jobs, but they live out of their cars. But that becomes unsustainable. I call this the first, like the 3 tiers of homelessness. The first tier is the overwhelming majority of people who are housing insecure, that are either couch surfing or living out of their cars and basically still trying to retain their jobs. But there's no running water usually, so it becomes really hard. It becomes difficult to basically keep your job at the same time while you're in this limbo.
It's funny how,
honestly, you wish you referenced agency instead of being the spokesperson, because I've worked for nonprofits my whole life, and so many good agencies could have spoken in this better than you and received the attention they so badly need. Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong, except, would you rather not have anybody speak on this, or would you rather have someone who has the platform speak on it? Because the alternative is nobody speaks on it, or when you do speak on it, you do it in your own circles. Ironically enough, I also did highlight an agency that I worked with, Water Drop Los Angeles, which we fundraised for. So don't know what you're talking about there either, because I did highlight an agency. But if you're saying, like, you're not the best communicator on this, maybe you should not speak on this, or at least give space to someone who speaks better than you, you're not wrong. It's just, you can't take that up with me, because I have given space to community organizers on this broadcast. I'm on someone else's podcast right now. Does that make sense, Lily Sage? Use your platform, dude, to speak with them and highlight them. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, but unfortunately for you, you are not interested in hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth or are genuinely too fucking stupid to understand. If you cannot comprehend words and what they mean, I can't solve this problem for you. You're going to have to take it up with God. Okay? I literally just said, in my own personal time, on my own personal platform, have done exactly that. I'm on someone else's platform right now. You're going to have to take it up with them if you want them to put someone who works for a 501c3 or an organization, if you want them to platform that person. I can't just go, hey, Bradley, we're going to cut this conversation off right now. I'm going to dial up a friend of mine at fucking 9 p.m. on a Sunday night and have them drive over here because they are going to actually do a much better job than me in speaking on this matter. Because once again, if you, and by the way, what's ironic is I have talked to a bunch of other people that do this work, including some of the people that work for Water Drop LA, and they seemingly think I do a pretty decent job of communicating. I've talked to homeless people, like in this community as well, people who have experienced homelessness in the past. I've talked to community organizers as well. They seem to think I'm doing a fine job. Not Lily. Not Lily, but I don't think she understands quite a bit. There's a lot that she needs to learn about. I can't thank you enough for your explanation of the tiers of homelessness. I work in harm reduction in Boston at Needle Exchange, and I've used your explanation to really help members of the public better understand who I serve and the dignity and compassion that they deserve. See, there you go. Other people who work for nonprofits seemingly consider the way I message on this issue to be not a burden, but a benefit. Not Lily, not that one Lily chatter who just got perma banned.
Having this conversation because there was a point where I lived in a car, my truck, and I would like park under fucking freeway overpasses. And I live in people's like couches and
yeah,
and it's tough having the conversation too because like I was in a position where timing was so. I mean, I can't even say it any other way. Like luck. God given.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what it was. Where like
no, it is luck. I say that all the time too. Like I told you, I've lived in a fucking frat house kitchen. You know what I mean? It like things could have been very different.
Yeah.
And I was definitely a lot more fortunate because like at least I had my uncle. You know what I mean? Even though he wasn't paying me all that much, but it didn't matter because like I knew that if push came to shove, like I had someone to lean on. A lot of people don't have that.
Right.
But that in and of itself is luck too. And you're absolutely right. Luck plays a major role in this. Hard work plays a major role in this. But at the end of the day, like the notion that people aren't working hard is silly. You got teachers in Oklahoma that have to fucking drive Uber at night after they're done with their, after they're done teaching so that they can make a living wage. Those people are working really fucking hard. You just don't see them. You don't think about them. You don't talk about them. And so we just write off all these people that are working their fucking asses off. Like they're not working hard enough. No, they are working hard. They're working a lot harder than motherfuckers like Elon Musk who tweet 700 times a day. It's just that he's at the top of society, so he gets to do that. And he can hire people to do the jobs and delegate his responsibilities to some of the top minds on the planet.
There is some merit to that though, to actually get there. It's not like, even if you had everything handed to you to still keep making the right choices to be able to continue. Of course, there's merit to that.
Of course, not everyone is always lucky all the time, 100% of the time. You can fail upwards. There's luck still, but there's luck in. What I'm trying to say is, I got very fortunate too. Like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that someone who talks about politics 8 hours a day was going to go to a fucking video game website and be one of the top content creators on the video game website, like for the past 4 or 5 years now? Like that's that's luck. Like I never thought that I would get to the level of success that I reached. Like that wasn't even my goal. I just wanted people to hear me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't discount that at all. People get mad at me when I say that though. They're like, "Oh, you think hard work is not important?" It's like, no, it is important. I mean, I stream literally still to this day 8 to 10 hours every single fucking day.
You fucking do.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah, fucking nuts. That's what I said when you were coming to this interview. You were like, you streamed all day and then you're coming to this interview and then you're going to another interview after and it's like going to be 9, 10 o'clock at night or some shit. So respect to that. Like there's no way I can discount that. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, it's obviously not going to be the same for every person. Like you can't save every person, but you seem to think there's a way, I guess, policy wise to actually change that.
Yeah, I think it's better to try to make endless attempts at saving every single person.
What? You've made it sound pretty unreasonable. Only certain types of presentation will have access to these platforms. I'm confused.
And if we try to focus on that, then we will be able to save the broadest majority of people that just that need like a helping hand, that just need to sometimes be heard. Something as simple as like, what's going on? What's your issue? Let me help you out. So many people are fucking lonely.
But that's not even a policy thing or a financial thing. That's just like a circle of friends or like a group that you know, to have someone because the thing is like, so let's stop it before it gets there, right?
Yeah.
But like that's like a whole different thing that you
Well, the policy is important in that regard because stopping it before it gets there, you got to fucking normalize the housing market prices. Like there's no way out of it. You know what I mean?
It is fucking nuts.
Yeah, you have to normalize the housing market prices. Like, and it's not about like fucking deporting 20 million migrants or whatever. Like that's not going to fix the housing market. It's going to make it worse. Actually, who the fuck do you think builds the houses? You know, it's like 25% of the construction industry is undocumented migrants. Good luck. You know, imagine wiping out a quarter of the fucking workforce. You're not building houses no more after that.
Yeah.
So,
but the companies like, it's way too expensive to pay these guys.
Yeah. So there's that issue. But even beyond that, like we here in California, especially, like, you know, Gavin Newsom acts like he's the woke king, the woke czar. But
bro,
our housing situation is dire. It's really bad.
Yeah.
We build units, but they're always like luxury condominiums. Why the fuck don't we have more affordable housing? It's because if you make more affordable housing, there's more inventory. If there's more inventory, then obviously the price of houses are going to go down. And then all of a sudden, you own a house, I own a house. The price of your house went down. Let's say you took a mortgage out. Now you're fucking stuck paying this like expensive ass mortgage for a house that is no longer valued as high. And for a lot of people, that's their nest egg. So it's this like intricate web that is interconnected in very meaningful ways for a lot of people. 44% of people in California own their own homes, or at least like own a home, right? Yeah. That's 44% of people who would immediately be like, what the fuck? You just eliminated a piece of my net worth.
Right.
How dare you do that? And so it's a matter of like, who is going to keep getting pummeled in the system? And of course, the voiceless, poor.
More affordable housing isn't going to help people who don't work or do drugs. I think you're a decent speaker, but I think your points are more geared towards emotional view of the subject and not practical and definitive. Yeah. You might not have access to this information, but there are plenty of countries that actually do solve not the homelessness crisis in its entirety, but damn near in its entirety, pretty close to its entirety. And the reason for how they do that is not because like they have a better work ethic or work culture or anything like that. They do it through practical policy making. That's what I advocate for when I talk about public housing, for example, decommodifying housing. That is not an emotional argument. That is actually an argument born out of a utilitarian framework, born out of an interest, a genuine interest in improving social welfare for all citizens. And that's the problem. The wealthiest man on earth is a ketamine guy, okay? He loves doing drugs. Many people do. This isn't to say that like doing drugs is good or bad. I'm not making a moral assessment on that at all. Simply that, you know, a lot of rich people do drugs too. What happens when a rich fail son does drugs? They go to fucking rehab, okay? Look at Hunter Biden. He's a crackhead. How's it going to solve lazy or druggies? They need therapy. Bro, oh my Lord. I gave an example of Helsinki, which has implemented a housing first policy initiative led by a fucking center-right figurehead, as a matter of fact. So even their right-wingers in Finland are fucking more woke on this issue because they see the problem and they apply practical solutions. It's called housing first. Another example that I use very frequently is the city of Vienna, also known as Red Vienna, because in Austria, the city of Vienna, 65% of the housing is public housing. It's owned by the government. Okay? And these aren't like boring building blocks that suck and are gray and dull or anything like that. They have community centers inside of them as well. There's a reason why they have a significantly lower rate of homelessness than large American cities. That's because the housing market is affordable, because they don't treat housing as an investment vehicle, but instead as a shelter first and foremost. Okay? So if you look at the problem of homelessness and you think, oh, it's because they're all lazy and druggies, well, you're wrong. Okay? You're just absolutely wrong. Many homeless people that get addicted to drugs don't start off as being addicted to drugs, and that's why they become homeless. They get addicted to drugs after they're homeless for many, many fucking years. Many of them, the overwhelming majority of homeless people right now, still have a job. It's not that 700,000 homeless people right now that are sleeping in the streets or sleeping in their cars all are devoid of an honest wage. They have jobs. They just don't have a fucking house. And they would be more productive workers overall if they didn't have to worry about shelter. That's the argument. Yes, the cashier at Target should be able to afford rent, groceries, and bills with their paycheck alone. That's what jobs are for. Exactly. It's the correct take.
working class people are the ones who get fucked over in the system because they don't have the same defense mechanisms that a rich person has. Rich people can get together and be like, you're not doing that. They can buy politicians. They can host politicians in expensive dinners and shower them with gifts and become friends with politicians. They go to the same schools with the people that are in positions of power. Their children work under them. They send, you know, Gavin Newsom's, well, he doesn't have family. He used to date Kimberly Guilfoyle. I don't think he has family, but I don't know. But like Ted Cruz, right? Ted Cruz's fucking wife worked at Goldman Sachs. You know what I mean? You think she's like, you think she did that because she has a fantastic understanding of the economy? Is that what it is? Like all these people's daughters, they fucking, and sons, they fucking go and work at all these corporations. How does that work? Kamala Harris's brother-in-law is the chief legal counsel for Uber, Tony West. He has direct access to the woman who was supposed to run the country if she won the election.
Yeah.
Like that's insane to me. You know what I mean?
But like that's the thing that I'm not trying to argue for, because it's all kind of a wash, but like you can't, it seems like that will never be avoided, because there's that, at no point are you going to say like, yo, because like what's the solution? Everyone is just the same?
No, that's not the solution.
Because like it's like someone's going to work. If it's also weird to think like, you know, am I just going to work super hard to try to achieve these things and then give it all up? But then at the same time, like I understand the need for in the humanity in it to try to like help more people.
There needs to be an underlying like base level of material equality. What Americans believe we have right now, which we don't have, is the equality of opportunity. And equality of opportunity means that like it does not fucking matter what your background is, but you're getting the best education and you're not constantly desperate for your next meal. That's equality of opportunity. We can do that, but if we do that, then profits are going to shrink for major corporations, and we can't have that. That's just something that we can't have. And the system is designed in a way, especially the media, that plays a pretty important role in this. It's designed in a way to basically tell you to fear that reality, that reality is socialism. It's scary. Don't even touch that. That's, you know, if you get that, then, you know, that'll be like the USSR or communist China or whatever.
Not in the ghettos, Hasan? What are you talking about?
Fuck people say, I don't know, Venezuela, people eat rats. And it's like, no, man, like, let's just get the Europe style, you know, benefits first. Like, is that okay? Those motherfuckers go on vacation for 3 months. Think about that.
You know, it's funny you say that, because every time, I swear I have people come from all over, but like there'll always be someone from like Europe or Australia, it seems as well, where there'll always be like at the gym, because I talk to these people in person and they're like, yeah, I'm on a holiday.
Yeah.
Holiday. They say
the fuck's
for like,
a holiday?
For like a month or two. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't remember last time I took a holiday. If I took a holiday, it's because I was going to go film something somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the same way. Like but we're in a unique industry. Like we're right. You know, we're our own bosses. So if you wanted to one day fuck off and, you know, do whatever the fuck you want, you could do that. Right. But the guys that are doing that are like working at the mines. You know what I mean? That's not a thing in America. Yeah. There is no like 3-month vacation for an accountant. Yeah. Okay. That's not a thing. There's no, and this is like legally enforced by the government, you know?
What do you mean?
It's there's paid family leave, there's paid emergency leave, and there's paid vacation. That is mandated by the government.
You're talking about in the UK?
In virtually every European country, there are different versions of this in their legal structure where the company is forced by law to pay a percentage and the government pays the rest of it for, you know, the holiday leave that they'd get.
Instead, we're all just paying money to fucking...
Where we don't have that. That's what...
This is like, it's kind of alarming that people don't know what that is. Like, that's so outside of the realm of consciousness for the average American. It like shocks them to their fucking core. They're like, wait, what? What do you mean the government forces companies to have holiday? Like, it's just, and it's not because Brad is a gym bro, dude. Stop. I bet you there are very smart individuals in this chat right now that just for the first time ever encountered this. Okay? No, that's not Bradley being a gym bro. That is fucking being an American. An American cannot comprehend that. They're like, what are you saying? And I know for a fact that it's shocking to most, because part of the reason why I know this is shocking to most is because we watched Sicko. And in the Michael Moore documentary Sicko, he goes to France. And I remember hella chatters being like, what the fuck? Hella chatters in here were like, what? What do you mean the government subsidizes and enforces paid leave? What the fuck? Yeah, it's called responsible governance, okay?
So that is not even a thing that you can bring up. You have like, I guess in some states you have like the state kick in with you know, a little bit of tax benefits that they give you, like give a company to offer paid leave or whatever, and then they legally mandate it, but it's not necessarily commonplace.
Yeah. What's that right there?
Oh yeah, hold on. So I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you what I got.
This is like, oh my god, yo,
He loved this.
You asked me.
This is crazy.
You asked me earlier, like, oh, do you pack Zins? I was like, do I pack Zins?
We didn't. But I didn't know you had this though. This is
Yeah,
fucking
bro.
sick. So this is.
Don't open the top though. The top is for the discards.
Yeah.
But
this is like a 10, and you got Trump on here.
yeah, I got the
never
Trump.
surrender.
The fight
This is
Trump.
fucking sick. Damn, I want this.
Yeah.
This is cool. Wait,
It's
so how
dope.
long you been doing this for?
It's been a while.
Yeah. You like nicotine?
I love nicotine.
Dude, I fucking.
So I used to smoke. I used to smoke.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, I used to smoke Cowboy Killers, Marlboro Reds, and I quit because of nicotine gum. And it was years ago. Like I quit years and years ago, but I never quit the nicotine gum. And then someone put me on this shit, and I was like, damn, this is so much better than nicotine gum.
What do you like about nicotine? Like, what does it do for you that you appreciate?
It improves your cognitive functioning, has a chance to offset Alzheimer's according to some studies.
Yeah.
Appetite suppressant, and
Alejandro with the 50 bones. Oh my Lord. Thank you.
feels good.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, it's like, it doesn't just feel good where you're like, you rely on it. You know what I
Secretly
mean?
a Trump guy. I love that.
Wait, not even, no, I love shit like this. I'm a politics guy. Of course, I have so much, I have more Trump merch than the average person.
I love. Yeah, you came in with the shirt to train.
Oh yeah. I was
dude,
wearing
I
the
loved it.
Let's Go Brandon shirt. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like I love hog culture, as I call it. Like right wing culture is the fucking is hilarious to me.
Why do you call it hog culture?
Because they're fucking, some of them are hogs, man. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's like the bro. It's just
You
like
got
some
on the
bro
one
shit.
hand you got the libs, on the other hand you got the hogs. I make fun of both.
That's fine.
Carter, bro, you tell me about nicotine gum is literally the only reason I could quit 4 years later. I'm no nicotine at all. Nicotine gum, harder to quit than cigs, but also not as deadly. I mean, I've never even tried it, but from what I understand, you can trick your mind afterwards to just chewing regular gum while slowly weeding off of nicotine gum.
I think that's honestly think like that's why you have so much success. 'Cause you definitely lean left for sure.
Yeah.
Heavy, but like you get it. I think you kind of get both sides, which is it allows you to have really good conversations about the stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference though. Like I can have a conversation with you. I can have a conversation with a Trump supporter, but if it's like fucking some nerd ass bitch like Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk, then it's like different. Because those guys are like, you know what I mean? Their job is to like constantly actively be that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm like that. I don't know. People think I'm like that, where they
People think
like,
you're like that for the left.
yeah, but
Yeah.
am I like that? I mean,
I don't think you are.
Yeah.
I've had enough conversations with you privately and on fucking camera that
yeah. I'm a normal dude. Like if you see me off clips only, you're gonna probably develop a very different attitude
sure.
of me. And I get that, but that's just the way that's just the way politics is in general.
Well, so that's the thing with politics. Like it's never going to be one. Like and that ultimately leads to all the other issues we're talking about, which is
Yeah.
like fixing the things, because a lot of the things require a little bit of both.
Yeah.
To like really be.
Well, the way I see it is like, look, it's a distribution of power. Who gets to have the power? Who gets to have the money? Who gets to allocate the resources? And the only way to do that is through violence. Like that's just how it works. It's violence when, you know, the state mandates something and you don't want to do it, and then they come in and knock your door and they tell you with cops that you got to do that, right? That's technically violence. We don't interpret it in the same way as like you punching a guy,
But it's force.
but it's still force. Exactly,
Right.
it's violence. And you know, this back and forth, I think, especially in American politics, like a lot of the back and forth that we have is over the minutia because it's designed that way so that you're constantly fighting with other people that have the same exact fucking interests as you, but you're like hyper focusing on the dumbest shit, like the dumbest shit that under other circumstances, if you were to take a deep breath and didn't have this sense of community being in these like echo chambers as well, you'd be like, what the fuck do I care about this? Like, why do I care about this? I just want to be able to pay rent. I just want to be able to, you know, buy delicious food and be able to eat it. And
Which is this is
play
why I
video
think
games.
this is why the Republicans won this whole election, was because like they leaned for that.
They did, but they also definitely do the other stuff too, where they're like, the Democrats only care about trans people. They only want to like do trans bottom surgeries for, you know, Latino inmates or whatever the fuck. And it's like, that's not a real policy of the Democratic Party at all. It's like something that it's considered medical surgery. The Republicans also did it under the Trump administration as well. It's like, it's something that you would never even consider until it's brought in front of you. And then you're like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense at all. This makes me mad. And if you investigate it a little bit further, you probably would develop a different understanding over it. But in that moment, it just seems like it's the most significant thing. It's the most important thing that everybody needs to focus on. When in fact, it's just like so minor.
So how does that change? That doesn't change, especially now if like everyone's just watching clips. Like, how does that ever actually change?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Since we just keep making new clips.
Yeah, well, the way I see it is like I've always had this policy where like people say a whole number of different things about me, where I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I don't give a fuck if you watch more than like 30 minutes of my content, not from the lens of someone who just like fucking hates me and wants you to hate me too, you'll pretty quickly understand where I'm coming from and what I believe, and that you will be able to make this assumption for yourself that whether or not everything that people were saying was true or not, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to change my mentality because other people think I'm a certain way. I don't know. I just have firmly held beliefs, and I stand by it, and I do things regardless of what people are saying. Going back to the Skid Row conversation, the reason why I brought it up originally, and this goes back to the clips as well, someone in my chat, before I even did it, immediately was like, well, don't you think you're exploiting homeless people? And there are people who do that. There are people who like go there and they're just like, and even when we first went there was a guy there that was like a little bit worried at first.
The worst though are the people who go up and they're like, look at me, give this guy stuff.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Bro,
Exactly. And they came in hot, like locked and loaded to be like, the one friend who's too woke. They were like, you're going to fucking go give them stuff and you're going to exploit them. You're going to exploit homeless people. And it's like, no, dumbass. Like, there is a very obvious reason why I'm doing this, and I'm doing this in the most ethical way possible. Where like, I already do a shit ton of charity. I do it on camera, I do it off camera, I do fundraisers, I give money, I donate myself, I work with mutual aid organizations myself. The reason why I'm doing this on camera today is because I'm working with a local charity that is excited at this opportunity, so we can fundraise with them. We raised like 20 grand in the process to urge other people to be able to urge other people to go and do it themselves in their own neighborhoods, because it is a truly rewarding experience. Like at this point, I've raised, I think last year I raised like 3 million, and this year I raised another 3 mil, maybe a little bit more than that.
In different sort of
for various different charities, like, earthquake relief, Palestine. And I've also given probably almost 1 million of my own at this point.
Yeah.
If not more, I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't matter. It is that all of that is nowhere near as fulfilling as like going out there.
Everyone's
and
gonna be
doing
like tax write off. Good shit.
That's what they say. Motherfuckers will be like, oh, he's rich, he doesn't donate his money.
He needs to donate.
And then it's like, well, I do, and I did even back then when they were saying that, but I was doing it privately. Sometimes it comes out in tax filings because like I gave 170 grand to the Amazon labor union, right? I didn't talk about it, but it came out because someone wrote an article about it, and in the article they were like, Hasan Piker was the largest individual donator to the Amazon labor union, and it came out after the fact. And then motherfuckers were still saying it's a tax write-off. It wasn't even a tax write-off. It's not even a fucking 501c3. So like, it doesn't matter. People were like, oh, you don't donate enough of your money. And then you do, and then they say, oh, you're doing it for clout, and it's because it's a tax write-off. It's not even a fucking tax write-off, and that's not how tax write-offs work anyway. It doesn't mean that like you get money in return from the government or some shit. And then they're like, oh, well, he's just donating money. He's donating other people's money because he's fundraising. It's like, but I donate my own money as well. Then they're like, oh, that's a tax write-off. And then they're like, oh, he's not going out there and doing it. And then when I go out there and do it, they're like, "Oh, well,
you're using the
homeless people for clout," and it's like, there's no winning.
Well,
so, but that's the point. There doesn't need to be a PRW there. I'm not doing this so the motherfuckers will like turn around and say, "Oh, he's a good guy." I'm doing this because it makes me feel good. It's something that I believe. It's something that I think I want to do. It's something that also gives me a tremendous amount of fulfillment. So that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell other content creators as well. Just like, fuck the noise, dude. Just do the good things. Like, do good things. Do right by others. Be a good person. Who gives a fuck if people are constantly chirping? Like, yeah, everyone is angry. Everyone feels the economic pressures. Everyone feels isolated. Everyone feels alienated. Everyone's angry all the fucking time. So when they see like some rich asshole that is clipped for like 15 seconds and it makes you feel even further, like it makes you feel like that's an appropriate vector for anger, you just redirect it at that, and you get a sense of community by yelling at this one guy that you probably don't care about at all otherwise. Right. That's it. That's just in the moment. You can't let shit like that stress you out all the time.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's interesting as a content creator. I mean, before I was really even considering myself a content creator.
Maybe do socialisms for homeless next year. What are you, bro? I did do that. Okay.
How I built what I was building I wasn't even trying, because at this point, back in fucking, I don't even know, 2013 when I first started making YouTube videos, whatever it was, or 2014, there was no money. When you first start.
Yeah.
And all the content that I made was just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is my relationship to it. And it's interesting because like, that's what also brought me all the success and all the money, was just doing something like you're speaking about from a different lens or from a different time, obviously. But it was just what I really wanted to do because it's who I was. And I felt like I was doing things that if it was helping them, and then in turn, it was actually helping me. And I wasn't even trying to get help. I was just trying to make content. And then it turned into my whole business.
Yeah, no, it's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, the fulfillment part of it, like you said, when you speaking to content creators, like do it because you actually care about it.
Yeah,
is the fucking key.
Yeah,
that's the fucking key to like actually being able to have sustainable and like long-term success in this industry for sure.
Yeah, And that's why I'm able to do 8 to 10 hours, even though people are constantly fucking chirping in my ear.
Because you actually care about it.
Yeah. But the point I couldn't even get across is still because I fucking weave harder than Donald Trump does.
Yeah, that's dope.
Is
But you came back to it.
Yeah.
Just like him.
Yeah, just like Donald. Just like Don. The point I was trying to make is that even before I fucking went out there, someone in my chat was saying like, "Oh, you're doing this to exploit homeless people." I described the process, but I got fucking mad because I'm like, be charitable. Like, what the fuck do you think? Like, do you not know? Have you not been in here long enough to know that like I'm not gonna fucking be an asshole and like shove a camera in someone's face and like exploit them for content? Like, why are you so cynical? You know?
Yeah.
I've been doing this for fucking years. And they clipped it. They posted it on Reddit. It went viral. Everyone's like, nobody actually watched it after the fact. Nobody actually cared that like I had taken the necessary precautions. We didn't film any of the people that didn't want to be filmed, or like that we didn't ask for prior consent from. You know what I mean? I didn't do all of that. And yet people still went with that narrative because they just want to hate.
Yeah.
It's a fun way for a lot of people to interact with others that they think are like-minded individuals. And in that brief moment, it's like opening up a bag of chips. It's not healthy for you, but it feels good in that moment. You know, probably fucks you up. It probably fucks you up in the long run, especially if you keep consuming the chips over and over again. Before you know it, you're fucking, you're so 300 pounds. They are good.
Jalapeno kettle chips.
Oh, fuck yeah.
God, dude.
But that's the point. You do it. It's unhealthy. People kind of understand that chips are unhealthy now, but they don't understand that like doing that on social media is also just as unhealthy, if not less healthy than even eating the fucking chips.
Yeah.
But that's why they do it.
I don't know if that shit ever changes though, man, because that's just a human thing, like to know what you know at that point and then just make your choices off of it.
I'm gonna do predictions after this.
And like the ecosystem we're in now is like there's so many.
Yeah, it's like rewarded.
If you noticed, I also keep like my analogies within the realm of interest for Brad and his audience. Okay, gym analogies, things that I know about him personally. I'm sticking to shared interest to showcase my worldview from the framework that is the most like approachable.
Absolutely. Especially on the internet.
Yeah.
It's super rewarding. Cause like, people get the top comment. It's like they get the likes. And we all said that, fuck him, whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. Cause like, I don't know, just the world we're in now as far as social media, like it just seems like there's no unraveling this shit. It seems like it's only going to speed to, I hate to be.
It's not 127 masking, chatter. What the hell are you talking about? I am literally a fucking gym bro myself.
Cynical or nihilistic, but it just seems like it's speeding to just fucking something bad.
I agree. And I think that sense of like that feeling of despair is and also the inability to change things is something most people feel that, I think, right now. Something's got to change, but I don't know how we're gonna get there. I do think that's why things like Luigi Mangione happen though. Because at a certain point, someone's just like, fuck this. I'm taking matters into my own hands. And then, You
don't find it weird how much like press they've given that after? Like the walks and the...
No, I think they're trying to make an example out of him. But I think...
It's almost like you make an example and then like someone else can be like, that guy got a bunch of clout and people think he's hot. I'm gonna do it too. So it's like, are they trying to make that a thing that happens more often?
No, they're trying to fucking be like, dude, a buddy of mine is a great journalist, Ken Klippenstein. He got a NYPD memo that said that like people who are openly pro Luigi Mangione will also be treated as like hostile, like treated as though they are also, pro terrorism. And that's the reason why they hit him with manslaughter 1 in New York State. That means you did a murder in the act of terrorism, or you killed.
Guy who doesn't understand how Twitch streaming works. Average narcissist watching himself Omega lol. Sorry, but I have to say you should button up your shirt off the top. It doesn't look too professional. I'm not gonna ban this guy. I hope you are having a wonderful New Year's Eve.
Killed a cop, basically. Normally everybody gets manslaughter 2 in New York. Manslaughter 1 is only reserved for people who kill cop killers. They say, you shoot a peace officer if you shoot an EMT or a firefighter, but nobody's shooting fucking EMTs and firefighters. They're shooting cops, right?
Yeah.
So it's for cop killers. It's a very high, it's a higher penalty. Or if you are murdering someone in an act of terror.
So they're considering that an act of terror.
Yes. Killing a fucking healthcare CEO is considered an act of terror. People get murdered every fucking day in this country. You murder one rich guy, that's terrorism. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because those are the real people. Those are the only people that matter. And I think the media is so invested in like trying to fucking finger wag at people. And I think they're missing the mark a little bit because they just make him look cooler and cooler. Like that fucking prep walk that the perp walk that they did, that made him look like he's the fucking Joker. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what is he, like Superman? Like,
and one of the cops had like some nice shoes on. Like,
oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he wore his Sunday
but
best.
It just seems like it's going to be a documentary and it's going to be a Netflix thing. But it's in a weird way. It's also just not even a weird way. They're glorifying it.
100%. But if he was like some fucking sick, twisted, pedophile serial killer, even if they perp walked them, it wouldn't have that same impact. Sure, there's still crazy people that like, you know, jerk off to Charles Manson or whatever, right? There's like a medical term for it. I think it's called like hysterophilia or something. I don't know.
To specifically Charles Manson?
No, to serial killers, like people that like fantasize and fall in love with like serial killers.
They always say don't fuck with girls that like serial killer like documentary. They say that to me. Something about that. I don't know.
You're eliminating like 90% of the dating pool. I think that's like I think women love true crime, man. They love true crime.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I've always wondered that.
They like the bad boy.
A buddy of mine, I think a buddy of mine thinks it's like the women's fantasy. Like the male fantasy is like you apprehend a school shooter. Like you put yourself in a position where you engage in hand-to-hand combat.
Hero,
yeah, you're the hero. And I've talked to some people that they think that like it's there's pageantry to the deaths almost, where they're like, you have the beautiful victims that everyone feels bad about. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I can't.
You've seen the same thing with like the Menendez brother thing came out and was like how all these girls should.
I still don't know. I don't think that's right. Like I don't think that assessment is correct. I just don't know. Women will say it's for safety, like to figure out it's survival, but I don't think that's the case either. I know the common take is that like women do it for survivability. I like how you stopped yourself talking about it because you didn't know. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know. But I also am not convinced. I'm not convinced that it's for, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not convinced that it is for safety. Like I've heard that as well. There's definitely a morbid fascination with it, and I don't know where that morbid fascination comes from.
Up to their trials, and the girls are showing up to this guy's trial.
Yeah, but it's not even just girls that are showing up to his trial, but I think like they're making it seem like that to try to like soften the impact a little bit, to be like, yeah, no, it's just like silly girls that love him, that want to fuck him because he's hot. It's like people were celebrating this before they found out what the motherfucker looked like.
And yeah,
people were everybody immediately universally understood what was going on before they knew the official motive of the shooter. When they found out who the victim was, you say universal healthcare.
I think that's why women are really interested in horror. Experiencing a real fear from a safe space is cathartic. That could be it. I think that makes a lot of sense, because like the date gone wrong turned into murder from a serial killer is straight up a very real, understandable fear that every woman has. So I feel like when you watch those horror stories, you get to live in that shared experience, in that shared space for a brief moment, but without like any of the real physical repercussions. But I don't know. But I'm not convinced on the true crime is for safety tips conversation.
CEO Brian Thompson assassinated in broad daylight in New York City. Everyone was like, "Oh, I know what happened." Why did everyone immediately understand the motive?
Being that they thought that this person got killed because of the healthcare system somehow.
Yeah.
But do you think that's like killing someone's not necessarily a good thing in any case?
Yeah, of course. If you were to handle all your problems that way, there'll be societal collapse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone cuts you off, you just fucking dumb them. Like, man,
that's like the Wild West.
That's what I mean. You can't have that. That's not like, you can't foster a normal and productive society like that.
So what do you think why do you think they're trying to scare people from not doing it? It's almost like,
I think they're trying to punish people and finger wag people and try to get like at least, I don't know, anyone who's like over the age of 65 that watches television to also be on board. Because like the reality of the matter is, if you're 65 plus, you just listen to what the TV is saying and you just kind of repeat it. It doesn't matter. You watch ABC, you're a liberal. You watch Fox News, you're a conservative.
My mom love my mom so much, but man.
But that's it. Like if the television man says like, this is bad, you shouldn't feel good about this. In most circumstances, people go, okay, I shouldn't feel good about this if they're over the age of 65. Social media is an entirely different universe, right? Yeah. But I think that's the major reason as to why they are doing so much coverage on it, where they're like, this is bad. You should feel bad. This person had a family. This person had children. And a lot of people who are under the age of 65, who don't give a fuck about what TV man is saying, look at that situation and go, you know who else had a family? Me, motherfucker. And then you denied my mother's chemotherapy bills. Like you denied her chemotherapy claims that she paid for. So fuck you.
Insurance,
you know,
bro. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so bad that like insurance is so like the corrupt influence of for-profit healthcare is so fucked up in this country. Other rich people hate it. Other CEOs. I looked at his LinkedIn post. Brian Thompson posted on LinkedIn like 2 years ago, and talking about like, you know, here are numerous ways in which like we're trying to be better for our you know, for the people that we're taking care of, right? There are other CEOs in the replies being like, fuck you. 2 years ago, not before he got killed. I'm saying on LinkedIn, you got other CEOs going, no, dude, your fucking company is awful. You denied, you denied my medical coverage for an immediate family member. Like, I'm suffering. So that's how fucked up the situation is. The fourth most profitable company in the country, right? You got their profit margins are 6%. It's $33 billion in net profit that they brought in. $33 billion in 2024. For doing what? What the fuck does an insurance provider do? All women are actually individuals who all have different views on the world and react to it in different ways. Hard to believe they aren't a single-minded monolith. I agree. Except all women are beautiful. And on that aspect, they are a monolith. But you're right, Chatter. All women are beautiful and always correct. And on that front, they are as close to a monolith as they can be. What do they do?
Asking me?
What do you, I mean,
what do I think they do? So what normally you pay insurance, and what they're supposed to do is that when something happens, they cover.
Don't you take away views by watching this on your channel? Oh my God, bro. No, it doesn't work that way. Also, please go watch it and give it views, and people do anyway when I watch it, and then hit that like, get it boosted in the algorithm before the fucking haters swarm it.
A larger portion of what you would be paying if you weren't.
Yeah, but their entire profit margin relies on being a middleman that doesn't need to exist and doesn't even exist in some countries at all. And their entire profit margin, their entire profit structure. I do these podcast appearances especially because this is devoid of chat constantly in my fucking ear chirping, okay? So that you can send this to, like, this is so perfectly packaged for you to send it to a gym bro friend of yours, okay? Many of you have bro friends that know Bradley Martyn, that like Bradley Martyn. You always ask me, like, what video can I show my friend? If you have a liberal Pod Save America style friend, you can send my Pod Save America appearance to them. If you have a bro style friend, you can send this video to them, okay? Or a family member. If you have like a Sigma Grindset business minded friend of yours that you want to introduce me to in a positive light, you can send the Colin and Samir podcast appearance, or the one I did with the what's the real estate guy's name? I'm forgetting that. Graham. Like, sure, incentivizes insurance companies to deny claims. That's how they get the money from you.
I've been there as well. I've been there as well.
Yeah, they get the money from healthy people, right? And they leverage the healthy people who they know are not going to need a payout against the people that do need a payout. And because they need medical care, right? Medical care is already incredibly costly. And partially it's incredibly costly because of insurance, because the insurance company has no incentive of like lowering the cost of medical care. In some instances, like with these pharmacy benefit managers that was supposed to be in the bill that they were supposed to pass in the Clean Resolution Bill in Congress, pharmacy benefit managers are literally owned by United Healthcare and all these other fucking major insurance companies. They were incentivized to increase the cost of pharmaceuticals because of the rebates that they were getting. So like in many circumstances, they're just making it more expensive overall, because it doesn't matter to them how costly insurance is or how costly healthcare is. It's beneficial for them to be for healthcare to be costly because nobody wants to pay $200 grand, right, to the doctor. So they have to get insurance. Yeah. So you have to get insurance. How do they make the money? They fuck over the people that are sick. They get the money by telling people who are sick, "Oh, we're not going to pay for that." That's how they make the money.
Yeah, yeah, I've been there. But so that's what I'm saying. Goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is like the system completely is just like, we're chalked.
I mean, yeah, you can throw your hands up and be like, this sucks. What the fuck are we going to do? But that's why I'm so stubborn. And that's why I keep fucking pushing through no matter what, because I'm like, this has to be solved somehow. Because
do you think it'll be solved in your lifetime?
Hopefully. But my goal always, and this is what I tell other people as well, is that you got to take the steps necessary to move in the right direction. Even if that change doesn't happen in your lifetime, ultimately society can only foster and grow when old men plant seeds for trees they will never sit in the shade of. So you just got to keep putting, one foot in front of the next and moving in that direction, even if change is not immediate, because change is never immediate.
Yeah. Especially change on that scale and that sort of
especially when you got fucking a company that makes almost $500 billion in revenue. That's it. As United Healthcare, their revenue for the fiscal year 2024 was almost
they're number one as far as the healthcare goes, right?
Yeah, yeah. And also they're number one in claims, in denial of claims, 32%.
Yeah,
that's fucking insane. That means like people that paid for a product, right, 32% of them got this in return. That's insane. And this isn't like your fucking Starbucks barista messing up your order, you know? You can come back tomorrow and get the right,
it's your life in some cases.
In most cases,
right.
It's your fucking life. You either have to go through medical bankruptcy, which is insane that it even exists. Like, this concept does not exist in other countries. There's no such thing as a medical bankruptcy in any other fucking country. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Richest nation on earth. And, you know, it either fucks your life up, directly kills you, you know, because they're like, yeah, we can't pay for this coverage, so you can't get it. What do you do then? You just die, I guess.
Yeah.
You know? Or it ruins your life permanently because now you're saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah. But that's what's the fix then? Changing policy?
Yeah, changing policy. But good luck changing policy when politicians on one side of the aisle are talking about fucking, you know, trans bathrooms or whatever the fuck. And politicians on the other side of the aisle are not even doing a good enough job defending against that and have no real interest in like actually fixing that system either, because their sons and daughters are also working at those companies. They're also getting millions of dollars from these companies in campaign financing. And the media is also, you know, in the midst of that Luigi Mangione coverage. What happens when the advertisers kick in? You got United Healthcare advertisers on the fucking exact same channel, you know? So it's an entire system designed so that you don't recognize the cruelty of the system itself. It does it by telling you should fear the other. It does it by telling you that you should fear your neighbor in some instances, that your neighbor that has the same exact problems that you do in terms of like paying rent or in terms of fucking putting food on the table, the cost of goods getting higher and higher, or how expensive it is to like send your son or daughter to fucking the best possible school so they can get a leg up in life. Those people are your enemies. Those people are the people you have to fear. Those people are the people you have to despise. And it also tells you that like there's no alternative. The alternative is so much worse, so scary. Death and destruction, you know?
But it is exactly that. It's funny. It is currently exactly that in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, you can watch the rest of it on your own. I wanted to give this a view and see, but oh wait, hold on. We got to also do my favorite part. All right, we're gonna do 2025 predictions next, and the fact that MAGA coalition was built on super poor people being duped into believing billionaires cared about them is genuinely funny. Hasan's doing the good fight. Bradlow's asking, will this ever get fixed or even possible for every situation? Big fan of Hasan here. Is a great watch. Respect for Brad having a left winger on the show. Sometimes you got to hear what the other side has to say. There should be a yearly collab. I don't even stand with most of Hasan's views, but it's entertaining to see these two in a pod together. Hasan and Brad have great chemistry. W. Hasan. The world needs more conversations like this. If you're watching this and being less charitable with Hasan's views than Brad is, maybe do a little self-work. If you think wanting to end the genocide, affordable healthcare and housing and workers' is radical, I don't know what to tell you. Can we have a timestamp for where we ended, please? Yeah, it's 128. Thanks for having me on. Anyway, did you watch? Do you have to do the